The Mustang Morning News is a public forum for student expression. Students make all content decisions, and opinions do not necessarily represent those of the Manhattan Beach Unified School District.
Manhattan Beach's City Council is still refusing to issue an apology to the Bruce family. Are actions like these symptoms of a larger cultural attitude in our community?
And on another Humans of MiraCosta, Roy Clinton shares his experience of growing up in Manhattan Beach and attending MiraCosta.
This is the Mustang Morning News.
Welcome back to the Mustang Morning News. I'm Walker Watson.
And I'm Caden Kubler. Get ready to test your knowledge with the COSTA quiz.
Here's how it works. Go to our Instagram story at Mustang Morning News and put your name, your teacher's name, and your answer to today's question. The first person to get the right answer will get a shout out for them in their class.
Here's today's question. What percent of MBUSD students are people of color? The answer choices are A, 12.3%, B, 28.7%, C, 38.8%, or D, 44.2%.
Think you know the answer? Submit it through the response box on our Instagram story now, at Mustang Morning News. This past year, hate crimes in LA County have risen by 53%, and Manhattan Beach still hasn't formally apologized to the Bruce family. Walker Watson finds out whether our community's reluctance to accept its past is a symptom of a wider cultural issue and how MiraCosta students of color have been affected.
Within the past year, racially motivated hate crimes against Black, Hispanic, and Asian residents of LA County have seen a significant increase. With MiraCosta's several cultural clubs and focus on the social-emotional health of students, one would hope that such intolerance wouldn't exist on campus. In reality, not only do students of color face racism at COSTA, but much of the time, their stories go untold.
I wouldn't say COSTA is very welcoming. I know a few girls who have experienced racism, certain students that have talked about like, oh, you stink because your hair is braided, kind of given them like, oh, are you sure you understand this? Like playing on their intelligence because of their skin tone.
The Black and Latino Scholars Unions, which provide students of color the chance to find a sense of community on an otherwise 63% white campus, are no strangers to intolerance as well.
I know there was a time where a group of students came in just to ridicule the club. I think everyone in the presence during that period were all able to kind of see the lack of respect that people of color do have at the school.
Additionally, it wasn't until this past year that assemblies organized by the BSU and LSU were made mandatory for all students.
I think our alumni assembly was like mandatory. All the other teachers would just opt out of going to BSU or LSU because it's taken out of class time. Kind of just felt like how we are at school, a minority. I'm glad that that change has been made this year. It's showing the people of color that like, hey, you know, you're being heard.
I love this town. I've lived here my whole life, but I think as every person of color who lives here has their story, and they haven't all been good.
Diversify Our Narrative, a national movement with over 900 chapters, has been working in the Manhattan Beach Unified School District to modernize our current English curriculums.
Each grade now has a book by a person of color, which they changed just last year. And then this year, a lot of our focus has been on ethnic studies. There has been a lot of pushback from older members of the community. And like it's that absence from our curriculum that leads to ignorant people. Moving forward, what I say is change education. It has to evolve as the world evolves.
While progress is beginning to be made on COSTA's campus, members of groups such as the South Bay Education Alliance have continuously and aggressively fought the implementation of a diverse curriculum at district meetings, ultimately forcing the school board to return to an online format.
It's just another way to deny that we have a fuller identity of Americanism that needs to be shared with our young people. We have to stop othering communities of color. We all have a responsibility for that in terms of recognizing it in contemporary times. Black folks who have bought homes in Manhattan Beach have been harassed in the last few years. The Clinton family had that tire thrown in their front foyer, lit with fuel those young men that were surfing this year were harassed out by the Manhattan Beach Pier.
I think this goes back into just not wanting change. Manhattan Beach's actions at this moment showed like, hey, we're not even ready to see the bigger picture.
For the Mustang Morning News, this is Walker Watson.
COSTA's boys and girls cross-country team competed for state 2 weeks ago in Fresno, California. The girls team, led by senior Dahlia Frias, won their first state cross-country title since 1982. The boys also captured third, led by junior Andrew Martin. Having this title helps boost popularity among student interest in the sport.
But I think it's going to be really a lot more enticing in the future for new freshmen. So I think our population is going to skyrocket there.
For the Mustang Morning News, this is Caden Kubler.
A plaque honoring the Uematsu family was dedicated and unveiled October 30th in the Mustang Mall. The Uematsu family was a Japanese family that owned 120 acres of Manhattan Beach land, including the land of COSTA. The family was forced to sell their land for cheap when they were taken away into a Japanese internment camp during World War II. The plaque dedication included speeches from Dr. Gerger, Mr. Courier, Dr. Bendale, and Mary Uematsu Kao, a granddaughter of Francis Uematsu. The plaque, dedicated to Francis M. Uematsu, briefly explains the family story and is surrounded by the Camellia King's famous flowers. To watch the entire ceremony or to find out more about the Uematsu story, visit youtube.com/Mustang Morning News. For the Mustang Morning News, this is Matthew Cullen.
Early on Wednesday morning in the Mustang Mall, COSTA ASB held its Scholar Breakfast, honoring the National Merit Scholarship Competition commended students and the COSTA High School semi-finalists in the National Merit Scholar Competition. For the Mustang Morning News, this is Seth Goefsky.
In our ongoing series, Humans in COSTA, we feature members of our community that you should know about. In today's episode, Roy Clinton discusses his experience with racism in Manhattan Beach.
My name is Roy Clinton. I live in Manhattan Beach, California, and go to COSTA High School. Some of my hobbies include going to the beach and exploring new parts of LA. My favorite subject in school is math, and I want to be a business major when I grow up, probably at UCLA or some area on the West Coast. I play basketball, I run track, and I played soccer. The most traumatic thing that's ever happened to me was my 4th grade year. It was around February. I woke up to my house on fire. It was just really random. No, we didn't have security, so we didn't know who did it. I don't think we ever caught the guy. I just went to school the next day. Nobody believed me. My teacher didn't believe me. And like they thought I made it all up. And then next thing you know, it was on the news and everything. And it was a pretty traumatic experience because it just wasn't something that you would expect. After that, we had a visual to like celebrate our survival and our recovery. We had insurance that covered the house, and we put the door that caught on fire into the African American History Museum. We definitely got more united, and we realized that we're stronger than we thought we were, because if we can survive a house being lit on fire, we can survive a lot of things. We definitely felt proud of ourselves for just persevering and making it out of that situation. I quit soccer my freshman year of high school because I felt like I wasn't included on the team as much as other people were. I was only black kid on the team, so it was kind of hard to fit in. And towards the end of the season, 2 kids wrote the N-word on the bench, and the whole team had to run for it, even me. And some players told me to confess and say it was me so the punishment would be less. And they're using me as like the only black kid on the team to like cushion up a punishment that I didn't do. I think it's an accepting community. It's just there's sometimes people that don't respect black people and their cultures and their history. After my freshman year, when I quit soccer, I tried out for the basketball team. I found a lot of friends that are more similar to me and that I feel really comfortable around and that I trust. I think that it's more of like a black sport, because like there's a lot of black people playing basketball. So I think they understand me more than a soccer player would. At school, I find a great group of friends who I think love me for me. They don't look at me as that black kid, but they look at me as just one of their friends. So I think I don't really have like that black label. One way Manhattan Beach can really improve is if we become a more diverse city. That's why I'm happy that the whole Bruce's Beach situation is going on. In the 1900s, the Bruce's family, which was a black family that owned this beach area, lost all their land to white people over time, and Gavin Newsom just finally gave them their reparations back, which I think is great because Manhattan Beach is moving towards a more diverse and safe community for all races. Well, I just hope that in like 20 years, when I look back on everything and I drive around Manhattan Beach, just remembering where I came from, I can see more people like me and my mom and my brother around, and just like be able to say like, wow, Manhattan Beach has really changed for the better, and just see people come together as one.
We have the answer to today's COSTA quiz.
The question was, what percent of MBUSD students are people of color? The answer is C. Students of color make up 38.8% of the district, a lower percentage than the 47.9% POC population of LA County.
Our newscasts like this air about once a month, but we're also busy reporting on Instagram about sports, breaking news, and other events in our community.
Thanks for watching, Mustangs. Have a great holiday.